Just thought I would look around, take a deep breath before I begin. It's just remarkable how remarkable everyone glows with just beautiful energy, and you there on Zoom land, amazing. I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed. So this topic, I don't know why I picked it, but you up so far in this service, you have filled in so many of the gaps in my understanding of awareness. Sometimes I think it's the topics I pick are just complicated, and I need your feedback. I need your understanding. I need you to fill it out. It's anyway. That's what I'm aware of right at the moment. So the books I used, Being Aware of Being Aware, Rupert Spira. I've been listening to him a lot the last 6 weeks, and I've had 6 weeks to work on this, and it doesn't get simpler. I mean, it's such a simple idea, and it gets more complicated the more I try to understand it. So I don't recommend trying to understand awareness, but it's something we do, and it's good to do it. It's good to be it, because that's all it is. It's about being, it's not about doing. So, Being Aware of Being Aware, Rupert Spira, S-P-I-R-A. He's a spiritual teacher in England, from England, and he teaches all around the world. And the other book I was looking at, Spiritual Notes to Myself, Hugh Prather, Essential Wisdom for the 21st Century. He's written many, many books, and he had a dispensable church in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I attended his church. Larry and I attended his church, and it was what was amazing about him. He was very down to earth, and his work was with the Course in Miracles. And he finally had to stop the church because he wasn't able. Because he was so busy with the people who needed him, he wasn't able to find any way to write. So and I was also aware that his wife, Gail, was very allergic to the cedar, what it was called, juniper. And I was also very allergic to it. So for 6 weeks, every spring, I would just be blowing my nose all the time, just all the time. And it was very, very annoying and very, very difficult time. But a lot of people were very allergic. The seeds are infinitesimally small. You can barely see them. They're red colored, and the juniper trees would turn reddish with the color of the, and you just blow on it, and seeds would go everywhere. It's hard to imagine these big trees. I mean, they were big bushes, and these tiny, 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 tiny seeds. So this is of Hugh Prather. He died in 2016. He was 74. He was just he's a great teacher, and there's lots of his books around also. So I'd been thinking about awareness for many years, but I began to practice something that I called awareness when Larry was a few months and a few weeks away from dying. And I called it a practice. And oh yes, it turns out it's a practice. I couldn't bring myself to do any formal meditation, but I knew that I recognized that the intensity, life was getting very intense. And even though both Larry and I were really trying to carry on as usual, it was difficult watching the changes. He had his heart stopped at least 3 times, maybe 4, in the 2.5 years that he was sick, and so I was ready but not ready, and I was just trying to be aware of I was just trying to be aware of what I was doing, of what Larry was doing, about how I was relating to Larry. And I was watching him change, and I was watching myself change in relating to how that process went up and down. And I didn't want to make it a desperate situation. I didn't want to make it into this terrible, terrible thing that was happening to us, because I knew, I just felt the absolute sense of it being a natural process. This is a process. This is about things you cannot change. And what do you do? Who do you be? So it was, this process of being aware was about being. It was all about being. Who was I being? Who was he being? And were we getting along? Yes, sometimes we were and sometimes we weren't. And I just, in my body, I just felt this intensity. And I would say to myself, in fact, through all of this time, but especially as it got toward the end, I have to stay healthy. I mean, I was still going through cancer treatment, and I said, I have to be healthy. I have to be healthy for all of this. I have to watch. I have to be aware. I have to find a way to find the meaning for myself. I have to find a way to find the meaning for Larry and for us and for our family and for our relationship. And so I kept going. We kept going. But I kept going with a lot more awareness, because I wouldn't know how long, I didn't have any idea how long this was going to last. So that was my process of beginning to understand awareness. Now, I can't say that I understand awareness, but there are a few ideas that I want to share about it, and I know that it's a good thing, because when I do take the time to be aware, things happen, things shift. especially when I take time to be aware when there's a difficult situation, I'm somehow able to understand that I'm not the difficulty that is coming to me. I am spirit. I am consciousness. I am awareness. I am light. And I am love. But I'm not the problem that I'm having with the car. I'm not the problem that I'm having with driving in the snow. I'm not the problem I'm having. This morning I went out and brushed off the car, and when I went to get in the car to go, it was like, wait a minute, there's a whole nother layer of snow all over the car that I have to start over. But the snow is light. I mean, what is good if you have a problem, and we all have problems, and they all vary, and they're all really interesting, and we just take care of it. We just take care of it, and it's up to us to decide whether we're going to take care of it with a light heart, or whether we're going to moan and groan and complain. It was really nice to pick up Esther this morning. Part of me didn't want to, and part of me, was fine. And but what she had to say, what Esther talks about, is always interesting to me. And she talked about, well, you just can't fuss about all these things that we have to fuss about. We just can't. We don't have. I just don't want to fuss about it. And so there I was. I had thought I didn't want to do this, pick up Esther, but when I did, I was given a gift. And there's always a gift. There's always a gift. So I don't have a formal meditation practice. I used to meditate years ago. I did, and I could. I live alone now. I don't have any distractions except the cats. But I'm not. There are times when it just seems too much. Like I've had so much meditation instruction that I don't want to do it like that. So awareness, just being aware, is to me the simplest thing you can do, and call it meditation. Let's call it meditation, because it's an exploration. Because even though we're sitting there and it's about being, even though we're walking and being aware, it's still about we're still going to think. Thoughts are going to come into our head. And so, not to entertain the thoughts too much, but allow the thoughts to lift us up. Allowing the thoughts that to come and to go, and not to judge any of them if they seem negative or if they seem positive, not to judge anything. Hugh Prather always used to say, something about avoid people telling you how wonderful you are, because in your ego, that's as difficult as someone telling you what a bad job you did. So he said, Oh, but I don't. I mean, I love it when you tell me if I do a good job on something. I really do. It's helpful to me, who tends to not have confidence all the time in who I'm being and what I'm doing. I have a tendency. So, when you're aware, it's not about thinking. Try to return to the oneness. Try to return to the largeness that you are. Remember that. No, don't remember, because that's thinking. So as you're being aware, don't use that awareness, just be that awareness. We do use our awareness. I'm not saying don't use awareness, because we are using awareness to lift our consciousness, to expand our consciousness. We're using that awareness. But try to use it in a positive light. So I like to practice, one thing I like to practice is being more aware of my body. I'm feeling good, mostly good in my body these days. I don't have nearly as much discomfort as I was experiencing while I was going through cancer treatment. And so the body is a very easy subject, and we can use our understanding, we can use our awareness to pull up energy from the earth into our bodies. We can take that energy and make a fountain out of it. We can, I do yoga every morning, a little bit, move around for about a half an hour, because it feels good. And when I set it up so I can do it, I get out of bed and do it. I get out of bed, I put on some warm clothes, and I do it right there. Yeah, I don't go anywhere. I don't put a candle on. I might take my pills before I do my yoga, but I do it. I do it right there. It becomes easy, and I like it. It loosens my body up, which I need to do, because I tend toward arthritis. It loosens my body up. It strengthens my body, and it expands my consciousness. And it's one of the only things that really does start me off on a positive note into the day, into your day. Do a little movement in the morning. Anything. Just do a little movement. So Rupert Spira talks about how our perceptions, that awareness of life becomes an observation of what is happening in our world on the screen. And the screen, as in a movie, is behind the action. It's the base of the action. Without a screen, you wouldn't see it happening. And as you're watching it, as you're watching the movie, you're aware of what's happening on the screen, but you're also aware of the screen. And awareness is that screen behind everything. Because we do need to understand, we do need to create some structure by which we understand awareness and the appearance of life as the activity on the screen, or the appearance of our sensations and our thoughts and our feelings. So one thing I was thinking about is in terms of becoming aware, that we're apt to become aware not just of nice things, but of difficult things. We're apt to be just quietly walking or eating or thinking or being somewhere, and we're also apt to become more aware of the difficult things in our lives, the problems we're having, the things we really don't like, the things that someone said about us a long time ago or something that we did a long time ago that we have not forgiven ourselves for. And we do experience a certain amount of pain with awakening itself, and increasing our awareness. So we say to ourselves, why should I become more aware? It's just all this stuff that I don't like, that's terrible about my life, and that's difficult. And one thing we can do at that point is remember that we are not our life. We are not the things that happen to us. We are not the things that people say to us. We are not our bodies, and we're not our minds, but our consciousness is something below the mind. It is not the mind, but we use the mind to express, to understand our consciousness and our awareness. So in the teachings of Aaron, who speaks through Barbara Brodsky of the Deep Spring Center, that self which is aware of pain is not in pain. So whenever we are in pain, we can use our awareness to open ourselves up to the resolution. But what I like to do, when my body is in pain, I just sit with it. I just sit with the pain, and I try to move my breath into the pain. I use my breath to move into the pain. And in the beginning, when I started to do that, I realized that I actually made the pain larger. Because why would I want to become more aware of this discomfort, this pain? And what happens, I have found, as a massage therapist, I've worked with people in pain too, and this really does help. As we become more conscious of a pain in our body, it begins to dissipate. We begin to relax our nervous system so that the messages to our brain become quieter. And I think that's a really important, it's good for, that technique is very important in my life, and I've been using it for years, and it really has helped. It helps me to realize I'm not my pain. I'm experiencing pain, but the pain is the action on the screen, and I am the screen. I am the awareness that is aware of the action on the screen. Sorry, I'm making this complicated. So it's important that we become more aware that we are not our bodies. What is it in the Course of Miracles? I am not a body, I am free. I am as God created me. And of course, we are created in God's image. Our inheritance, our being, is the love and peace that we can come to if in many ways. We can use music to do that. I use music, but I also use awareness. There were times that I could feel this contraction in my body going about my life with Larry when he was still alive. But as I became more aware of the contraction, I didn't judge it, but I just was willing to feel it and allow it just to be. So we have to allow. This allowing is very powerful and very necessary. So as I finish up, I say to you, stay curious about yourself, about your mind, about your heart. Because that's where your happiness lies. Knowing that it's not you especially, but you are the gift that is given by life to make things better. And you make things better for yourself, and you make things better for others as you practice, as you lift, as you come from your heart. So stay curious, watch yourself, watching everything. Judge nothing, laugh often. You are totally unique, just like everyone else. And return to your natural happiness when you notice you have gone out of balance. So Ramana Maharishi said, the greatest teaching is silence. I will be silent now. It's your turn to speak.